In this lesson we're going to practice landing the airplane by flying a number of straight-in approaches and landings so that you can concentrate on the four parts of the landing process: the approach, the flare, the touchdown, and the rollout. The simulator is a little more difficult to land than the actual airplane, so if you master the basic concepts and techniques in the simulator, landing the airplane will be that much easier. Make sure you've read and understood the flight manual chapter on landings before flying this lesson. You'll hear it said over and over that the key to a good landing is a good approach. The reason you hear this said so often is because it's true. If you have a stabilized approach at the right airspeed, in the right configuration, and on the right glide path, the chances of a good landing are vastly improved. I've configured the airplane on a long final for a descent at 75 knots with 10 degrees of flaps. Okay, it's time for you to start flying. It's your airplane. You'll need to make slight adjustments to pitch and power to maintain 75 knots. Think in terms of applying control pressure rather than making large control movements. Small power adjustments should be all that are necessary. The question you're probably asking is, how do you know if you're too high or too low? With your airspeed stable, take note of your aim point. If it's moving toward you, you're too high. If it's moving away from you, you're too low. Also notice the lights to the left of the runway. They are called VASI, or Visual Approach Slope Indicator lights. These lights change colors automatically to help you determine if you're on the proper glide path. You're on the proper glide path if the lights are red over white. If they're all white, you're too high, and if they're all red, you're too low. Lower another 10 degrees of flaps at this time, and now maintain 70 knots. Make whatever small heading changes are necessary to stay aligned with the runway. The best way to do this is to sight down the center line like you might a gun sight. See the beginning of the runway, the point where the arrows end and the runway threshold begins. Always land beyond the threshold. Time to lower the last 10 degrees of flaps. Now maintain an airspeed of 65 knots. We'll maintain this speed until we're past the threshold and are at 10 to 15 feet above the runway. When you cross the runway threshold, reduce power and pull back slightly on the yoke to slow your rate of descent. Continue to smoothly raise the nose to a normal climb attitude until the main wheels touch down. Crossing the runway threshold, reduce the power to idle and raise the nose slightly to reduce our descent rate. As the airspeed slows, continue to raise the nose until the main wheels touch down. After touchdown, smoothly lower the nose to the ground and activate the brakes by holding down the period